Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remain standing for a moment of silence for our men and women in the armed forces. Thank you. To officially open up this meeting, I'd like to announce that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey have been satisfied by the inclusion of the date, time, and place of this meeting in the notice of regular meetings adopted by this board on January 9th, 2023. Such schedule and notice of meetings is posted at the Municipal Building, the Mount Olive Library, the Board of Education offices, and the 6 schools, was submitted to the Daily Record for publication on January 13th, 2023, and was filed with the Clerk of Mount Olive Township on January 11th, 2023. I direct this announcement to be entered into the minutes of this meeting. May we have a roll call, Ms. Jones?
Mrs. Aquino?
Here.
Mrs. Fenton?
Here.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Dr. Giordano?
Here.
Mrs. Melendez?
Here.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Here.
Mr. Strelacci?
Here.
Mr. Zire?
Here.
And Dr. Getz?
Here. And I would just like to welcome everyone back from what I hope was a joyous holiday weekend. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you at home, thank you for joining us. And so, moving right along, let's get our newest board member into the mix. So would you like to move?
What is happening?
We're gonna ask you to approve the minutes. So you wanna make a motion?
I want to make a motion to approve the minutes. 2.1 to 2.2.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes, on 2.1, I had to be excused for half of 2.2, so I'll just abstain on it.
Mr. Zire?
Abstain on both.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Dr. Getz?
Yes. Great job, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Thanks, I'm really proud.
Yes. Communications and petitions to the superintendent or the board? I'm going to just share the announcement about the blood drive, and I'll pass this around to the rest of the board. So Bundle Up and Give blood drive at Mount Olive High School, Tuesday, December 12th, 2:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. in the high school cafeteria. 16-year-olds will need parental consent prior to donating blood. Please see Noah Lopez for form or visit the website at www.nybasinboyc.org. All donors will receive snacks and refreshments, saves up to 3 lives. And I'll pass this around for the rest of the board. And I'll start this way.
Thank you.
Reports and discussions. Student liaison report.
Good evening. Good evening. Did we lose the mic? There you go.
There it is. Heard something.
Yeah.
Tyler did something to it earlier.
Good evening.
You're welcome.
Good evening. We hope you all had a great break. Just to welcome you back, everyone back listening and here. We want to congratulate our fall team sports for an excellent season they all had. Our gymnastics team won the NJSIAA sectional champs and went on to finish 7th at the state championships, with a number of gymnastics earning medals over 4 different events. On to our famous football team. What an excellent season they had, with a big win over Roxbury to take the NJSIAA North 2 Group 4 sectional title. We'd like to congratulate them all. Unfortunately, they lost the game against Ramapo, but all okay because what a great game it was to watch and what a great season they had. A number of the athletes were honored with first and second team conference awards, which will be later posted. Coming up on December 5th, we will be Mount Olive High School will be hosting a sportsmanship summit, which is like 36 other schools come to our school, and we're teaching them about good sportsmanship, because over the overall sports in the fall, there was 36 red cards given out, which is right after COVID, which is 30 more than before. So we want to make sure our athletes are just being respectful. So Connie Mallon is hosting this to kind of help our athletes. Our winter sports are underway right now, 1 week in, and what a great time they're all having. And we'd like to note that our annual Powder Puff has been postponed to June 4th, when it's hopefully a little warmer.
Moving on to other school clubs and extracurriculars, our Foods Club recently celebrated Diwali, providing a very festive menu and an excellent cultural experience for students. Mount Olive High School's new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council did an incredible presentation for Dr. Bangia on their goals for the year, and they will be presenting again in February to the Board of Ed. Both the Key Club and the Leos Club are currently holding coat drives, so make sure any students are on the lookout for information about those and try to donate any gently used coats if you have any. We only have 15 school days in December before we are out for winter break until January 3rd. There are a couple of big events from the music world to look out for during this time, following their outstanding showings of The White Christmas by the Drama Club. On December 13th, the high school band and choral concert will be held in the PAC starting at 6:30. Then, on December 19th, we have the Winter Orchestra Concert, again in the PAC at 6:30. Turning to the robotics team, our Mount Olive robotics team recently hosted the first LEGO League state qualifying round, and each of our elementary schools performed excellently, earning awards for our districts. On December 9th and 10th, we will be hosting the official state first LEGO League, with 60 teams from across the state coming to compete.
This Wednesday, November 30th, the National Math Honor Society will be holding their induction, and we welcome you to come. Also, this weekend, December 2nd, is our annual Snowland Dance, which a lot of people are looking forward to. It will be held in our cafeteria from 6 to 9 p.m., and we have currently sold 650 tickets. So a lot of kids are coming. The Snowland setup will be held on December 1st, which is run by all our students that help set it up. Our Air Force Junior ROTC competed in their drill competition and won first place in unarmed drill, and Jace Ona, their commander, won unarmed drill commander overall. And as said by Dr. Gales before, we're hosting a blood drive on December 12th so if you're able to come, thank you. Any questions?
Yes. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, one quick question. The sports consortium, the meeting, 36 red cards you said? So the red cards, that's soccer?
So it's like cards overall. So like, not cards, but like,
Warning.
yeah, almost like overall just like bad sportsmanship given out.
Okay.
So like they were taken out of the game because of it. So 36 overall unsportsmanlike conduct.
Across all the sports,
Mhm.
so all the sports will be included in this?
Yeah, so there
Oh,
will be
great.
36 schools coming out to us from all across their fall sports. So hoping that we can like bring the schools together and kind of show them that we can, you know, it's not always about like, yeah, it's a competition, but we're all one community and we're all playing for the same thing.
Friendly
Just
competition.
just to clarify, that's across the conference, that's not for Mount Olive, so that number is across the actual
Okay,
conference.
okay.
Yeah, so in this conference,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
gonna be.
no,
yeah,
not
yeah.
us getting all those.
No, so, and just to also clarify, this conference happens on an annual basis. Mount Olive was chosen as a site to host the conference in order to ensure that athletes across the conference, right,
Yeah.
are able to come together, engage in important dialogue and conversations, so they can grow into not only athletes but scholar athletes as well. So it's a great experience, and we're very fortunate that Ms. Souffle and her team, along with the coaches, were able to put in for hosting it, and we were chosen. So thank you.
And our athletes are actually running it. So yeah, which is great.
Thank you so much for that
Thank you.
clarification.
And have fun at Snowland.
Thank
It's my favorite memory, decorating the night before. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
I'm actually going to turn over the mic to Ms. Jackie Bello. She's going to be presenting on our HIB self-assessment for the prior school year. And she's going to be followed by Mr. James Creepy, who's going to be presenting a security update for the district. Thank you, Ms. Bello.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Jacqueline Bello. I'm the Director of Student Support Services and Programming, and along with that, I'm also the Anti-Bullying Coordinator for the district. Big part of my job, and this is an important topic, so thank you for having me tonight.
Mike's open.
Thank you. So the first part of the presentation tonight, I'm going to focus on the anti-bullying self-assessment, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. I'll refer to it as HIB throughout the evening, as we commonly call it. This is a self-assessment that is done in every district, in every school throughout the state of New Jersey, every school year. We do it in the fall, and it's for the previous school year, so this is from the 22-23 school year. So the term self-assessment is a bit of a misnomer. We do have strict guidelines set forth by the New Jersey Department of Education, including a rubric for scoring ourselves with evidence documents that do get checked by CUSAC. So we do have to maintain these records. As I said, completed in each school individually with the school climate and safety team meetings. They are reviewed at meetings that I hold with anti-bullying specialists. So those are counselors in each school assigned to oversee the HIB efforts, both preventative and responsive. We meet every other week throughout the school year, but specifically to compile these scores, we met back in the spring, and then also 3 meetings over a 6-week period this fall. The scores are, go back for 1 second, that's okay. The scores do have to be presented as part of the guidelines from Department of Education. We then submit the results on the Department of Education website for final submission. And then once the state approves them, we will post them to our website. So we are scored on 8 core elements, and each of these core elements has several indicators. Some have 2, some have 5. There's 26 total indicators in the entire assessment. So these are some of the topics: our HIB programs, our approaches, other initiatives for preventing HIB, training, staff instruction, curriculum and instruction for students, our HIB personnel who is in charge of prevention and response, school level HIB incident reporting procedures, the investigation procedure, and our reporting procedure. So in each indicator, in each of those 8 categories, we have a rubric from 0 to 3. If we have met all of the requirements for that particular indicator, we get a score of a 2. If we've exceeded the requirements, we get a score of a 3. So that's what we're aiming for throughout the school year. If we do not meet the requirements and get a 0 or partially meet requirements, that's what we have to take a very close look at. If we meet all of the requirements, then we would have a final score of a 52, and the highest possible score is a 78. These are the results for each school based on each core element, and then you can see the total school grade all the way off to the right. So again, 78 is the highest, 52 is meeting the requirements, and you can see that we trend in the low to mid 70s for all of the schools. We do have one outlier, which is the middle school, which we scored a 56. So while we did achieve that 52 score, we can certainly do much better. This is something that we took a close look at through the meetings that we've had throughout the fall. There were some discrepancies with the way other schools were handling things. No one indicator really stood out. It was just a variety of standards across the board that could do better. I know that the whole staff at the middle school, I've talked to them at length, we're all on board with plans for improving that for this current school year. The district average is a 71. So some of the remediation expectations, of course, we want to celebrate all of the things that we're doing so well, because there are some indicators across all schools that we're a 3, but we want to focus on what we can really improve on. So any core indicator that was less than a 2, which varies by building, we are putting some interventions in place, and we have an entire intervention plan at the middle school with timelines, assigned staff members to carry out each element in need of remediation to ensure that our score goes up and is more reflective of where we want to be here in Mount Olive. Some of the trainings, just to give examples of our proactive measures last school year, you'll see some acronyms up there, so I'll explain them a little bit. Law training and policy training is available for all staff on a platform called GCN. That's our online training program. They can watch these courses on demand, and then we can also check to make sure that there's full compliance with all of our staff, so that's a good platform. ABS training, that's anti-bullying specialist, is ABS. You'll see that throughout the presentation. We had training through Legal One. That's the Foundation for Educational Leadership. New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association, they have a legal team, so that's kind of the premier training for New Jersey school law. We also had admin and counselor training, so the principals were trained last year, assistant principals. BTAM, another acronym, Behavioral Threat Assessment Management. So any, school threats or that kind of thing, we look through the lens of bullying. Sometimes people who act out and make inappropriate statements are upset by something, so we also combine that with our anti-bullying efforts. We've had trainings from the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. Navigating peer conflict was a great parent session presented by our anti-bullying specialist last April. There was a parent series from Rutgers Behavioral Health to help promote anti-bullying initiatives. Principals and vice principals every year do assemblies for the students where they talk about our HIB policy, HIB law, and also what that looks like in real life. They do that by grade levels quite often. And of course, our school climate and safety team meetings met very frequently to talk about HIB prevention. This year, 23-24, we've had a lot of training to date. So this is just what has been done through mid-November. So we did, during July, we had an administrative retreat for all of the administrators where we did a HIB procedure training. We talked about our procedures here in the district. We also had Hibster training. So Hibster is our platform where we warehouse all of our data. We make sure that our workflow is according to timelines, and we make sure that we're complying with all the legal aspects of New Jersey law. So we were trained in how to use that platform, all the administrators and counselors. Again, NJPSA, FEA, that legal training, we pushed out an on-demand training for all of the anti-bullying specialists that were watching in a group, and we're discussing it to make sure that we're all on the same page, and so that we have time to discuss different cases and how we're handling different bullying investigations. We did a paraprofessional training because they are the boots to the ground. We know our paraprofessionals work so closely with our students. They hear conversations that, other staff members may not hear. So we did a specific training just for the paraprofessionals. As I said, we do the frequent meetings for anti-bullying specialists, legal trainings, and we have the GCN platform for annual training. Lastly, I just want to talk about some of our HIB investigation procedures here in Mount Olive. They're very similar to what's done throughout the state because we do have to follow the law. This is a snapshot of our website. So this is our homepage. Under About, you can see the HIB section that's circled. And then that is the button circled down at the bottom, the red rectangle with the black circle. That's where you would actually click if you wanted to fill out a bullying report to be investigated. So whenever an investigation comes in, it does go to that platform that I mentioned, Hibster, so an email goes directly to the principal, and then when the investigation occurs, this is part of the HIB definition in the state of New Jersey that we're looking for when we do the HIB investigations. So bullying is common vernacular, especially in this day and age, we hear the word bullying used a lot, and sometimes it's used for inappropriate behavior or negative interactions or conflict between students, but this is what we're looking for to apply the HIB definition to our different circumstances. So it's any gesture. It could be written, it could be verbal, physical, electronic, it could be a single incident, a series of incidents, but importantly, we're looking to see, is it reasonably perceived as being motivated by an actual or perceived characteristic, such as, I won't read them all, but any characteristic basically that people can't change about themselves. And then there's a big and. It takes place either on school property, at a school-sponsored function, or off school grounds. And it also has to substantially disrupt or interfere with the orderly operation of the school or the rights of other students. So with conflict, there's that momentary discomfort, that momentary upset. It may last a day or so, but if it really doesn't affect the school day, then yes, something inappropriate could have occurred, but it might not meet the definition of HIB if we can't show the substantial disruption. So some of our procedures...
Can we go back to that last slide, Ms. Bello?
Yes.
So just to reiterate that, when we talk about reasonable perceived, that's from the eyes of who?
Peers. So if we're talking about a first grader who's upset about something, are the other first graders who were there also kind of feeling like, wow, that was really inappropriate, and that would demean this whole group of people.
And just to be clear, the individual who did the act, it's not their perception, it's the perception of those who was the comments made to, correct?
Correct. So another, uncommon thing is that sometimes you can accidentally cause harm to somebody through your words or through your actions and not really realize you're doing it. And that's a hard thing.
So it's not about intent.
Correct.
It's about the proceed for the person.
Right.
Okay. Perception of the victim, correct? Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. When we do the bullying investigations, we're looking at the target. We're trying to make sure that they're okay, and we want to hear from them. But we also want to see the alleged person who perhaps may have done the bullying or the inappropriate behavior. We want to make sure they're okay too, and that there's teachable moments in that. So regardless of outcomes of any bullying investigation, we always take action, and we have a great deal of interventions at every school to make sure that both parties are okay and understanding what's happening and kind of make amends and move forward, whether it fits the definition of bullying or whether it's code of conduct or conflict.
And I think what you just said is really important, right? That sometimes it may not be considered a HIB, however, the actions of the school are still going to be coming forth.
Absolutely. Right. We have a ton of programs in place. That's what we're here for. We have a robust counseling staff who is, here to help students kind of learn these lessons and move on, because if students can't work together and function in a group environment, there's not great learning happening. So it's a very important function of the school district. So for us, whether it fits HIB definition or not, we want to address it.
Thank you.
So we have procedures in place. There's something called a 338 LEA family form. So when you click on that spot on the website to fill out a form, that's the formal name of it. Local education agencies. We have a lot of acronyms in education, but that's the state reporting form that we use. It's linked to our website. As I said, it auto-populates Hibster with an HIB investigation. It gives a tracking number. There's an email blast that goes to the principal and that goes to me, so that we have our checks and balances in place. The principal then assigns that case to an anti-bullying specialist and alerts the families of the students who are named as being involved. There are then 10 days to investigate from the anti-bullying specialist, who then sends the form back to the principal, and the principal notifies families of outcomes. And then the anti-bully coordinator, myself, reads every HIB investigation that goes on in the town and submits the information on the next upcoming board report to be accepted by the board. In the meantime, the administrations at the schools are stepping in to do the discipline and or restorative practices as necessary, whether it's HIB founded or not founded. And then the anti-bullying specialists and I meet as a group to review trends, and we're looking for things like repeat victimization and repeat offenses, and we're also looking for programs that we can bring in if there's certain trends. What are the topics of the bullying investigations that we need to address?
Mr. President, Ms. Bell, can we go back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
For clarification, 10 days, that's 10 school days. The ABS has 10 school days, to make that clarification.
Thank
It's
you.
not actual days, it's 10 school days. And then what's the actual time frame? So I submitted an HIB form, the principal principal gets 2 days, it has to be open within 24 hours, and they have to make the calls within 2 hours. I think just to let people be aware of that, principal doesn't sit on it and then waits those 10-day school days. I mean, there's time frames
It is.
involved.
It's a long process. So there are some bullying investigations from, early November that are just being, approved by me and put on the next board meeting's agenda now. So when you look at days off and that type of thing, it's a long process because you're right, the 10 days is just for the investigation piece. It's not for the notifications and that type of thing, sending the reports. Any other questions? That's all I have for us tonight.
Yeah, getting back to the 56th grade, grade we had on middle school. Can any of that be attributed to that age group and what they're going through at that stage? And if so, are we giving more counseling at that point or any more iteration of conduct at that point?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we added a lot more counselors to the middle school. As you know, in recent years, we do have a behavioral interventionist who's meeting with students just, to deal with the HIB investigations and the code of conduct and the conflict that they're having. But certainly developmentally, in middle school, we could have as young as 10 in the very beginning of the school year, as old as maybe 14. But the brain development at that age, the developmental stages are so different. And then you add on which kids are exposed to different things at different times and just have high interest in very adult material that they may not be able to handle at that time. So middle school is a time when there's a lot of conflict that's happening. And so our middle school does a lot of investigations to see if those conflicts are hid. So that volume can be very overwhelming. So in a roundabout way, it can be attributed. But I will say that there was no one category that really stood out at the middle school. And it's hard to put a finger on exactly what made it lower other than nitpicking apart every piece, which is what we're doing in the anti-bullying meetings.
Yeah, because I've always considered the middle school as like a stepping stone. You got to catch them there, especially since we're not a 7 and 8 middle school, we're 6, 7, and 8 middle school. We really got to catch them there, and otherwise it just festers and continues on through the high school.
Agreed, yeah. And they're doing, a lot of their team building activities. They have their teams, they're red, they're yellow, they're white. They're trying to infuse a lot of anti-bullying measures into that. It's also in the curriculum. So there's a lot of opportunities. What they try to do is really let the students lead because they want it to have an impact. So they do a nice job really across the board of letting the students lead and seeing what's going to resonate with them rather than, just having assemblies all the time. Assemblies are great, but we have to have a reflection piece that goes with the assemblies in order for it to have an impact. And they're looking at that very closely.
Dr. Giordano.
Are we doing anything as a district to educate our parents, not just on the procedures, but how their behavior and actions can attribute to their children engaged in HIV, especially on social media?
Yes, so we have a couple of programs coming up in the winter. I've just started a partnership with Thrive, starting the early talks of it, because they have some very successful parent meetings. Parent meetings, as we know, can be tricky because we have had some great ones the last year and we'd like to have more. We'd like them to be well attended. So any parents who have concerns about, HIV, please come out to these parent meetings that we're scheduling for the winter.
Along the lines of Mr. Chalachi's point about middle school and your explanation on child development at that age, have you had the opportunity to take a look at trends across the state to see where middle schools typically fall in terms of the HIV self-reporting?
Thank you for asking that. So the anti-bullying task force in the state of New Jersey is working on just that. And so they're also looking at the HIB law and how the practical application in school districts is affecting kids and school districts and resources. So I sent out something to the community to encourage families who wanted to speak to their experience with it, but they are sending out a lot of data. They just sent out something through the Principals and Supervisors Association to look at that data.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to commend Ms. Bello. She had just joined the district this past June, and she's done a really remarkable job, establishing some really helpful procedures and processes, not only from a preventative care aspect, but also when issues do come up. So I just want to thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Mr. James Karifi, our Director of Security.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good
Again,
evening.
James Griffey, Director of Security. Just like to, as I'm watching Ms. Bello do her presentation, just want to let you know that when you saw the BTAM, the Behavioral Threat Assessment Management, as you know, Governor Murphy passed that law that we must implement that this year, even though we already had it in place. We had an outside agency review one of our recent BTAMs and indicated that if we did not do it properly, that they would have to come in and do it. I'm happy to report to you, now that I saw it on Jackie's presentation, that we passed that and there was no critique from that outside organization. So we were wondering how that was going to go, and we passed the test on that, so I'm happy to report that with an outside organization. So tonight I'm going to talk about the residency investigations and our bus safety program. Real quick on the agenda, from the last 3 years, from 21, 22, and 23, on the residency investigations and our bus safety program, quick video demonstration, talk about some of the summonses that we've issued throughout the last year and a half, and then what are we doing with it, right? Because we do have a problem. Our community safety initiatives, who we've partnered with, and so forth in order to address that problem. And then the last thing I'll just touch on is the vape incident, since the board has given us direction on charging specific people that are caught vaping. And then I'll address any questions or concerns that anybody has at the end. So here's our residency investigations for the 21, 22, and 23 school year. As you can see, I've broken it down by pre-K through 5, and how many students per year, and what the tuition costs. So that tuition number, if you look at that tuition number, that fluctuates on the specific child. So the board determines how much it costs in general to educate per student. But that number fluctuates, as I just said, because sometimes there may be a special education student that requires a one-on-one aid, that requires its own bus, or that requires counseling, or that requires speech. So with that, that drives that number up, and that's where you see the difference where you say, well, okay, well, 9 through 12 on 21, there's 4 students, that costs $282, but 23 and 24 school year so far, there's only 2 and it's only 43. Yeah, that's the difference, and that's why, because if you notice that, that's the difference between an education of a special education student that requires additional services. I'm also want to tell you that if you see on the bottom there where it says Note 2C 28-7A, this year in a 23-24 school year, through routine investigation of a residency, an ancillary issue popped up that regarded another child that turned out to be that specific parent or parents submitted fraudulent documents to the Board of Ed in order to register their child with our district. I'm happy to report to you that I just got wind from the Morris County Prosecutor's Office that we are the first district out of the 41 in Morris County in order for them to grant approval on charging the individual for that offense. So that just went out on Tuesday, that happened. I'm happy to report that they concurred with the investigation and they agreed. And obviously, Mark, you can probably talk about how hard that is to get that done.
It's impressive.
So that's what I have for residency. And as you can see for the 23-24 school year, it's off $500,000 already, and it's only November. And 16, 19, and 16 students so far throughout the years. Okay, the next slide I have here is a demonstration about our bus safety program, not yet, our bus safety program. And why do we do it, right? Why are we so aggressive on what we do here? And I'll tell you, one is because throughout the last 32 years across the country, there's been 414 kids that have been killed getting on a bus or getting off a bus. That's about, for those of you doing the math, that's about 13 kids a year. Most important reason why we do what we do. The second one is, when I first got here and spoke with the bus drivers, it was a big morale issue. The bus drivers had relayed to me that, this has been going on, there's a problem here in Mount Olive, and nothing's been done. We looked into that, and I'll address what we did once we got that information. And then the third thing is like when Dr. Banji arrived here in Mount Olive, and it was her position, and I believe she still maintains that position, that safety and security doesn't end at the borders of our property. It extends to the bus stops where our most important assets start their day and end their day. So we do that. What I'm about to show you here is actual real-life examples of something that are taken from bus videos that happen across the country. Again, I'll make that disclaimer that this is not Mount Olive, but this is videos that have taken place across the country.
But this happens with us.
I'm going to show you a little bit what we have too.
Okay.
Dr. Giordano, I'm going to show you a little bit some examples from our bus videos.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. It's the third time that truck's done that.
Okay, so after sitting down with the bus drivers and realizing what their concerns were, we did a pilot program, contacted one of the companies in order to install exterior cameras on our buses to see, right? We wanted to gather the facts before we did any action. And lo and behold, that's exactly what it was. We had a significant problem. So you guys made the decision to outfit all 72 buses with our cameras. And what you'll see tonight, I have a little presentation about some of the highlight reels, if you will, about some of the incidents that's happened in Mount Olive.
Do we need a disclaimer?
Yeah,
No, you don't need a disclaimer because, as Mark will tell you, there's no
No,
expectation of privacy.
No, I mean in terms of the
No.
the graphic nature.
No,
Okay.
no.
Anybody with
No, because thank you to Blake, our wonderful tech department. He blurred out some faces and so forth on some close calls. So again, thank you for Blake for that, doing that for us. All right, so first let's talk about the numbers, right? Because I talked to Chris Zaire about this a few times, and he's got there was questions about the discrepancy in numbers, which is a great question. So if you'll see on the way I broke it down is per month, what has been issued, what has been heard, and what has been found guilty, right? And then the total fines. So let's talk about the fines first. So that's a lot of money, right? But I will say to everybody here that wants to know and needs to know, that all doesn't go to the township of Mount Olive. There's a portion that gets broken down and distributed to the state. There's a portion that gets broken down and distributed to the county. And then there's a portion that goes back to the municipality. That's on any motor vehicle summons that's issued. That's basically the breakdown. That's what happens here. So there's portions that go to these different agencies. Now, why the discrepancy in September, if you look at the very first one, why the discrepancy at 188 and then only 50? Well, there's many reasons to explain that. Now, the tickets could have been issued towards the end of the month. The cases could have been adjourned. There may not have been a lot of cases, court cases, that were held during that specific month. And there could be cases where people come to court not really realizing the significance of the fine and decide to get an attorney, so the matter gets adjourned. Could be people that just didn't respond yet. And there could be, some ancillary issues with them not responding to the summons. Nevertheless, that's what we have here. We haven't lost a case yet in court, and those are the numbers that you see. Obviously, as we progress during July and August is the summer months where there's not a lot of buses on the road, but nevertheless, you're still getting some summonses and violations. And then you can see the discrepancy in the amount of tickets issued in July and August versus heard. That's just the nature of the courts.
I mean, it's just as many in July and August. That's so sad.
And we only had 12 buses running on during the summer. So this is where we are this year. right? I can tell you for tomorrow, court days tomorrow on the 28th, I think there's 120 cases. I spoke to the court clerk earlier today. I think there's 120 cases scheduled to be heard tomorrow. So that's where we are with those numbers there. Here is our highlight reel for Mount Olive. You don't need a disclaimer here, like you said, sir. You won't need that here. However, it's a lengthy video. I have no intention of playing the whole thing. If anybody wants to see it offline, I have no problem showing it to you. But I'm just going to play maybe a couple minutes of it, and then you guys can see what's actually happening on the streets of Mount Olive. So here's another great job by Blake and our computer department. If you see here in front of the bus, it's blurred out. That's done for a specific reason. You can see these kids coming across the road right here as they're walking. Normally, if this wasn't a rainy day, these kids run and they get there. So you can imagine these kids couldn't see that truck coming, and that truck certainly couldn't see those kids crossing that road.
There we go. Right past the stop. There you go. Big red stop sign out, blinking. There you go. Patient, got a little patient up.
Went slow.
Oh my word.
If you can do it, you went slow.
This is
46. Yeah, there you go.
You have on here James, the guy that passed on the passenger side?
Yes, you see a couple of those on here as well, sir.
That's good.
Double yellow, that's the misunderstanding.
Well, the one that passed the car.
Just not slow. It's not gonna
Yeah, this is.
happen.
Over double one, breaks the work.
So in the interest of speeding this along, I think you guys got the message. So our community safety initiatives, what are we doing about this issue that we have here in Mount Olive, right? It's a big issue. What are we doing about it? So we're providing specific bus routes to MOPD. I've met with their traffic bureau and I've given them specific times and routes. And when they have the sufficient manpower, they actually follow the buses that we deemed that may be a little bit bigger of a problem versus other buses. So that's a win-win for us, right? Because I'm getting a police car actually following a bus, right? That's great. I find that as a former captain of the police department, I find that great. Our billboards, so you've probably seen them. I think there's 2 on 46, 1 on 206. And newsletters, newspaper, electronic road signs, and social media. So with that being said, this is the billboard sign that you've probably seen. I think there's 3 of them in the township. This is a newsletter that explains the law that's going out to every resident in Mount Olive with the first quarter tax bill. We've had an article in Mount Olive Chronicle. We've had our electronic signboard. We've partnered with the Mount Olive Health Department in order to display our message. Just a little shout out to our payroll department that came up with this slogan. You have to work within the characters, you gotta be specific characters and so forth. They won the monthly prize for that message. Shout out to Lisa Jones, I know you're watching. Township's Facebook page. They announced it on their Township Facebook page, and also Mount Olive PD. They've also announced it on their Facebook page. Real quick on the vape, this is what we have so far on the vapes. 20 people have been issued summonses, cases heard, and found guilty of 14. That means 6 are pending. No, we haven't lost any, Mr. Zire. They're just pending before the court.
That's gonna be my question.
Is that actually court?
Court, and I could speak to that predominantly so far, what the judge has given is a $280 fine. Any questions or concerns?
Every ticket need to go to court, or if they pay, they don't have to?
No, that specific offense is a mandatory court appearance because of how significant it is.
Any other questions?
And I just want to be clear about the vape. You know, we did not take this lightly as a decision to put forth a summons on here. We are really concerned about the health and welfare of our students. You know, vaping is such a detrimental to a young person's body, and we want to make sure that at the end of the day that this is a huge deterrent for them, and hopefully we're going to see that trend in the decline in number of cases that we do have at the high school, and hopefully, you know, not even at the middle school. And 2 things I would like to share. I would like to thank the partnership we have with the township as well as the police department. They've been instrumental in making sure that the initiatives we put through are also supported by them, so thank you to them. And also I would like to thank Mr. James Karifi. He has been instrumental in all these initiatives you shared. He goes above and beyond. These residency hearings that you talked about is impeccable. The work ethic that he has to ensure the safety and security of not only our students but also our staff. He's also a trusted individual that our staff goes to when they're encountering issues. So I just want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for collegiality, and thank you for just caring about both the students and the staff here in Mount Olive. We're very fortunate to have you.
Well, thank you for that comment, but it's a team effort, and I want to say thank you to the bus drivers for what they do, and the staff there that calculates all these numbers for the residency and all the reports that we receive regarding these residency issues.
And one thing that, you know, in addition to the bus drivers, the security teams that we do have in each of our buildings. I think, you know, not only does Mr. Karifi oversee the residencies, dealing with the bus violations and working with bus drivers, he also has an entire outfit across the district. How many officers are we up to as far as?
15.
15. So across the district, who are all retired police officers, who are stationed in all our 6 buildings across the district, which he also oversees. So this is a tremendous job that he does.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have
Oh,
a couple
Mrs. Iyer.
questions. Sorry. Is it possible that when those flyers that you're going to be handing out, can you maybe, when people apply for the parking stickers, like the seniors that get the parking stickers, maybe you can give them with a parking sticker? Because I know, especially on 46 with the double yellow lines, the 4 roads, it'd be a nice refresher for those kids that are driving.
So we partnered with the township regarding that newsletter. They are going to be the ones that are going to send it out, but I will express that to see whether or not they could give it out to anybody who makes an application for a handicap sticker, placard.
Okay.
Definitely.
The other thing too is, I don't know if you mentioned, what is the percentage of conviction? What was the percentage?
The percentage is 100%.
100%, okay. And when you got moved forward with 2628-7A, were you wearing that suit when you were pushing for it? Because I might have to talk to Tony about a wardrobe change.
No, I was not, but I am proud of that. Out of 41 school districts, apparently we are the first. I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, but it's an accomplishment to get that done, what we did. And again, the whole reason for this presentation is because what are we here for, right? We're here to educate residents of Mount Olive, not people that live elsewhere and that are coming here. And for those of you that sat on the board, you know basically the number one reason is because it's a better school system than where they moved to. And they just want to keep continuing to come here. But we're watching.
Kudos on everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karifi.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'd like to thank this board and the past board members. I believe when we approved this position of Mr. Karifi's, we went through the process, people in our community were, you know, if memory serves me correct, came to the board, asking why we were wasting money for this position, why was it needed. As normal, this board, the information we get, the community doesn't always know, stood our ground and said, this is what we're going to do to better our district. And I think just those numbers and the savings on the residency issues alone, we bought Mr. Creepy a car so we can go out at midnight and stalk people's homes. Everyone's not aware of that. He does night vision goggles, and it's crazy, but we've saved a boatload of money. And thank you very much for your.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? Okay.
I just have a comment. We were one of the first school districts that ever had security officers. We were one of the first school districts that ever had security officers. We had one in the middle school and one in the high school. And of course now I think we have what, 15 now, Ms. Griffin?
Yes,
15 now. And we take security very seriously, and hence, we just won an award, didn't we, for being the best secured school district?
2 years ago, 2 years in a row. Yeah, you are correct.
Thank you.
And I think it's also clear to say that it's not only during the school hours. We have any events that happen outside of our school hours, after school, before school. We are always outfitted to maintain the safety and security of those attending our school events. So it's rest assured that this is a top priority, and it's because we have the best team around.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Is that it?
And I just have one thing to share. Just reminding the public here and at home that we have our public referendum forum meeting tomorrow at the high school. Originally, it's starting at 7 o'clock, and that is when the presentation is going to begin. But we added a walkthrough of the high school for us to showcase the areas in which are going to be impacted by the referendum. So if you're interested in attending the walkthrough, please come at 6:30, and we'll walk you through. If you're unable to come at 6:30, we will provide another walkthrough following the presentation portion. And please know that we have all the experts on hand for all your questions. So we do encourage you to come tomorrow night. If you're unable to, please remember that we do have an email address, referendum@mots.org, which provides another avenue for individuals to ask their questions to get accurate information. And we also have an online forum scheduled for next week, which will be sharing out the Zoom link for that. So thank you.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Awesome, okay. Moving right along. Are there any committee reports? Personnel, curriculum, finance, policy? Okay, no reports. Board subcommittee reports and Parent-Teacher Association liaison reports. We'll start with the board. Hang on one second. We'll start. Anyone from the board? Okay, now ladies, I'm sorry.
I have a horse throat though. Good evening, Erica Marcinko, TINS PTO.
Sharon Ania, I'm here for moral support.
On November 16th, we held our PTO general meeting. We had a record-breaking book fair this year. We generated $11,000 in sales, which beat last year's record of $9,600. Our trunk or treat event this year welcomed over 600 attendees. Our school lived up to its Tinsylvania tradition, and we're proud that our community event was featured in the Mount Olive Chronicle this month. Thanks, EMO, for the generous grant which allowed us to buy candy, decorations, and hire a DJ for the evening. We just completed our third session of the PAGE program and offered the following classes: Legos, robotics, kids test kitchen, intro to French, and arts and crafts. We're happy with the success of PAGE and thrilled that Mountain View is using it as the framework for the After the Bell program. On November 17th, we welcomed 200 students and their families to our second annual Cookies and Crafts Night. Families decorated holiday cards and ornaments. TINS's kindness ambassadors wrapped them up with lotions and candies, and the holiday packages were delivered to seniors at Mary Hart Nursing Home. Coming up in December is our annual holiday shop, running from the 5th through the 8th. All items are priced between $2 and $5 in order to bring an affordable shopping experience to TINS students. The PTO is hosting movie night at TINS on December 15th. Students voted, and Super Mario Brothers won. Not elemental. And take it away, Ms. Neal.
Fourth graders treated to a very special Veterans Day presentation by retired Army Colonel Warren J. Curd, who taught students about the importance of the holiday and his service in Vietnam. He also had the table with all things that he brought back, and the kids. It was just a wonderful experience for all the kids. And he is the father of Rebecca Hopler at our school, so it's just something special the kids look forward to every year. And so thank you to Mrs. Hopler and your father, Colonel Kurd, for organizing this. November 15th was ESP Day, and TIN celebrated its educational support professionals.
I'm one of them.
She's a great one.
Thank you.
And with breakfast and raffles throughout the week. Thank you to Mrs. Iacampo and Emo for organizing this. Warm Winter Wishes, organized by our guidance counselors, is going on now and helps grant winter wishes for members of our TINS community. TINS's Girls on the Run program is wrapping up its season this week. On November 18th, our students completed a 5K run. They worked hard all season and made coaches Ms. Gentle and Mrs. Smith very proud. Also on November 18th, TINS's first LEGO League team participated in the qualifier event at the high school. Our 7-member team built and designed several prototypes of robotic. Sorry, this is me. Yeah, no, I should know this. I was a group. They designed several prototypes of robotic arms and devices to assist people with disabilities, and that was there. They created it to paint, to pick things up, and they just were. It was great. The team also constructed and coded a robot named Robert. That's Robert. That performed a set of tasks as it navigated the field. Thank you to coaches Mrs. Christina Capone and Miss Minnie Anthony for leading our students with enthusiasm. It was just a great day. It was just so much fun. The 4th grade chorus and 5th grade band will perform their concert on Monday, December 4th at 6:30 p.m. at the Mount Olive Middle School. And that's what's going on in Tinseltown. I do like it though. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, seeing none, anyone else from the public regarding PTO, CMSSCA? Okay. Can we get any technical assistance?
I do.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Moving right along, board president's report, there is none. We'll move on to public comments on action items. Members of the community may comment on any action item prior to the board's discussion. Please come up to the mic and state your name and address for the record. All comments must be respectfully presented. Abusive or obscene language will not be accepted. The mic is open for public comments on action items only. Seeing none, we'll close the public comments on action items, and we will move to the approval of the monthly expenditures and reports. Mrs. Melendez.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I make a motion for approval of the monthly expenditures and reports, 6.1 through 6.8.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes for 6.1 through 6.6 and abstain on 6.7 and 6.8.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mr. Zire?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes.
And Dr. Getz?
Abstain on 6.1, yes to everything else. Personnel, Mrs. Aquino.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to make a motion to approve personnel action items 7.1 through 7.17.
Second.
Questions or comments from the board?
I have a question. So just a question, one on the employee resignations. I noticed we have a special ed teacher on here. Are we doing exit interviews on those? And then my other question was, 7.10. Love the Unified Club program. My question was, it says that we're approving extra pay for extra service positions in advisement. Just doesn't say how much extra pay or what the definition of those extra service positions are. I mean, it could be something you answer later on.
Yeah.
Just need the price.
It's unified activities. It's for Nancy Gilbert's for unified activities, which is separated out now from unified sports. So when they have their get-togethers and they have games and afternoon programming, so it's all the activities that they put on, but it's separated out
from
the athletics part.
And separate from the Best Buddies program then?
Correct.
And then there's I'm assuming, I don't want to assume, there's a specific pay associated
with that.
Yeah, that's why it's good for us.
Yeah, I can bring up this.
Okay, Mr. Zayas.
So I did have a question about 7-Eleven. I thought we were gonna have a little bit more of a discussion. I know that we had talked about the adding of the coach, and that if the coach was going to be kind of taking on more of a full-time position, that they would not be an assistant or co-assistant coach, wrestling coach. And yet they're as a co-assistant.
Yeah, for that one, that's still, that's a split between the one coaching
Mr.
salary,
Moore?
it's split into two.
Yes, do you mind?
Oh.
If the superintendent is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to.
That's okay, I didn't
No,
realize.
no.
Human resources.
No, we want,
You to come up here.
we want you to come up here
Oh,
so
okay.
everyone can hear you. But I just want to make sure Dr. Banjo
Oh,
is
no,
okay with
I
that.
pointed to Mr. Moore.
Okay, all right.
That's what we have a directive.
So, just to clarify, the one individual, is not taking on the
Lower that,
responsibilities
Blake.
that we discussed in personnel?
The one individual is taking on, but it's a split salary. So it's just the approval of the salary that the new coach is coming on,
Right, but
is on a split.
But the conversation was if they were gonna be taking kind of what the responsibilities that were outlined were kind of larger than what I would say a split or a co-assistant. So we were discussing about, would it be classified as a full-time position?
It's like a full-time assistant position as
Well, no, like actually a full-time coach.
It is. But both parties agreed to take on the responsibilities on a split stipend.
I think Mr. Zires is talking about the title assistant in
Yeah,
front
the
of
co-assistant.
wrestling coach, as opposed to having it, a full
As
wrestling
a
coach.
full-time head
It-
coach?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
just kind of like,
Right.
I don't know, I don't want someone to be underpaid for doing a
No.
lot of work.
So I can answer that question.
Yeah.
That goes back to the size of the program. We had talked about how at this point, the volume of students, while they're on the rise, it's still as not large as a established set program. So we're starting at an assistant wrestling coach level. And then as the program continues to grow, we're gonna probably most likely transition to a head coach, wrestling coach for the girls.
Right, so we'll reassess the need to have
Yeah.
a specific head coach for the girls program as the numbers play out over the course of the year.
Because right now we're basing this upon interest and number of girls who are going to stay with the program. Because we also had a sizable interest at the onset of last year, and that as the season progressed, it kind of declined because often it's the first time girls have interaction with the wrestling sport. So we are trying to be proactive as possible to get some other hands in the mix in order to support this growing program. So that's the angle that we're working on.
Well, the key words were there, is that it was discussed with them, and that individual was comfortable with.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was-
So I have a question about the,
Can't hear Ms. Fenton.
You're not gonna be able to hear me today. Those are both female coaches, right? Were we, they are both
No,
female?
one's female, one's male.
So weren't we looking for female coaches?
Specifically, that's who we hired, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Is the additional female.
You don't
coach
want,
for-
you don't want two male
No,
coaches.
that's why.
Coaching with the
that's
girls.
why she got it. That's why she got it.
Right, exactly.
Showing on a student, and everybody gets it. I didn't know I thought they all trained together.
Separated out now.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
Yeah.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yeah, getting back to Mrs. Narcisse, what she was asking for, over the years, I have expressed the desire that the board should know, anytime there's being money paid out, that it should be listed on that action item.
It's
So that we
7.1.
know, what the amount of money that's going out. And I've asked for that over the years several times.
So we'll make sure that 7.10, that's the one, let's make sure we update with the actual.
Just an accident.
Yeah, absolutely, we left it off by mistake, we'll make sure that we got some in the future.
Any other questions or comments? I think that's it, Mr. Moore, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, right, Ms. Jones?
Yes, we do.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mr. Zire?
Yes.
And Dr. Gales?
Yes. Curriculum and Technology, Mrs. Aquino.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to make a motion to approve C&T action item 8.1 through 8.4.
Second?
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
8.2, abstain on Jody Bosch, yes on everything else?
Mr. Zire?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes. Finance, Mr. Zire.
Based on the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to move action items 9.1 through 9.2.
Second?
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mr. Zire?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
And Dr. Gales?
Yes. Administrative action items, Mrs. Fenton.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to move action items 10.1 to 10.10.
Second.
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Dr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mr. Zire?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Dr. Gales?
Yes. Public comments. Students, parents, employees, and community members may comment on any item of interest pertaining to the Mount Olive School District. Please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record. All comments must be respectfully presented. Obscene or abusive comments will not be accepted. The mic is open for comments on anything pertaining to the Mount Olive School District.
No, I'm Sharon Munier. I live at 192 Tims Road School. I just wanted to tell a little bit more about the Lego League competition on Saturday. All elementary schools this year had participated, and it was just such a fun day of teamwork and seeing our kids look around at all the other schools, because it was all of northern New Jersey that Mount Olive hosted. So it was just a fun day. I met Ms. Fitzgerald, had wonderful conversations, and Mrs. Aquino, I know I missed you so much.
I missed you guys.
But I just wanted to say, like, I was so proud of my team, of all the elementary schools, because we were trying to talk, and hopefully next year it'll be more of, like, every year there's always something that we can think of to make it better. But I just want to let you know, like, it was such a great day. It was a wonderful day. Seeing them, and I have video of them. Our first run was actually better than any practice we were doing. So it was just we're cheering right on there. So it was just a lot of fun. And thank you to those who come, and hopefully more of you can just see, like, the excitement, the energy. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the coaches and the advisors that take that on.
Anyone else from the public?
Brian Gallagher, 135 Crenshaw.
Does it work? It is, it's too short.
Brian Gallagher, 135 Crenshaw Drive.
It's a sign, Brian.
I didn't even bring paper tonight. Just bullet points.
Just let the record know that I am faster than Brian Gallagher. Raced him on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. It was so fast. It was right back in there.
Right back in there.
Running? What are you doing?
It wasn't jogging, was it?
It's Turkey Trot, hosted by the Mount Olive track.
Oh, you were trying.
Yeah.
You were trying? You were trying.
I was skipping.
Okay, okay.
Chris was in his car. Chris was in his car.
Probably. It's the only way I would
Not as fast as Max.
We can understand.
Could we maybe get another one? Is that my part? We just hold this
I'm not reading all of
Can you hold up Dr. Giordano's microphone?
I'm just asking 3 questions, so that.
Okay. Just 3 then. We want to make sure the public at home can hear.
Has your
If
ever-
we just- No, we want to hold up, no.
Okay,
No,
can we,
no.
Guys.
come on, we can, if you speak up nice and loud, we should.
I'll speak loud enough.
Yeah.
But then I'm yelling.
Then the audience, the TV people at home
Oh, this is
can't
something.
hear.
They will not be able to.
So you need to hold the microphone up.
There you go.
All right. Brian Gallagher, 135 Crenshaw Drive. Past couple years, this school district has lost probably some easy and crucial points on not simply posting the HIP statistics online in the grade report. Is that something that is being resolved, or is that going to be posted on the school district's website? Because,
Yes.
okay, thank you. In the report tonight, there was no breakdown as sometimes given in the past on specific incidents at the schools. Is a full report going to be available online like it has been in the past with confirmed and?
That's a different report.
Well,
That
we
doesn't
can't-
go into the self-assessment.
Dr. Banji, can
Okay.
you have, if they're gonna talk, they're gonna have to wait till he's done and then come up?
It just, like last year, it was done in November, so I assumed that with this report, the numbers would have been given on that. Also, there's been a lot of talk about the middle school and the bullying and the numbers, and we kind of all seen the trends over the years. Does the middle school have the most amount or the least amount of anti-bullying specialists compared to the other schools in the district?
They'll have the equal amount. Same.
Last year
Same as last year as well.
and the year before?
I can't speak to the prior year before the 21-22 school year. On
Yeah.
average, every district, every building should have one
Yes.
ABS. Anything more than that is not required, but we've moved
No,
to
I know
two.
that, yeah. The high school has 2,
We
CMS has 3, the
Yes.
elementaries have 2, and then the middle school has 1 listed.
Yes, so we're moving forward to having every school to have 2.
Moving forward,
Yes,
yes. But the past year, that wasn't the case.
they're all trained as ABSs in the past. So,
Okay.
but officially moving forward, we're gonna have 2.
Moving forward, there will be 2 at every school.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So I know that Ms. Bello wanted to make a comment. Would you like to come up?
So that was a good question, so I did just want to address the board with that. When there's a large volume of HIB investigations, we have to use the resources that we have. We want to do our due diligence to make sure that we're fully investigating every HIB allegation that comes our way. And so we are prepared. We have a large counseling staff, and everybody's trained to do bullying investigations should we need them. But we do want to focus on specific staff members who are charged with things like the self-assessment, the programming, the reaction to the response to HIB allegations. But we do need to have many counselors trained so that if we have a high volume of investigations, we have people to carry them out so that we can serve students in a timely manner in accordance with the law.
Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak on anything pertaining to the Mount Olive School District? Okay, we will close the public comment section and move on to old business with the board. Do we have a date for the coffee with the board members?
No, but I'm free if you wanna take me for coffee with the board member.
Anytime,
I'll be the board
just
member.
let me know.
Coffee, no, I don't have a date yet.
Okay, well,
Would be
We'll get that.
okay, all
Would
right.
be sorry.
Okay. Huh?
Take her to dinner, you starve.
The board pays me well, I can afford to take.
Right.
Any new business from the board? I better not say that too loud, somebody might take that seriously. Yeah. Okay, no new business. Board comments. Mrs. Fenton, we'll start on the other end.
I just wanted to congratulate ROTC, the Lego, gymnastics, football, on wonderful accomplishments, and their coaches and teachers and mentors. I'm very proud. Every time I hear everything like this, I'm just super proud. And I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Desire.
I just wanted to commend the Winter Wonderland. That's actually not the name.
Oh, White Christmas.
White
Snowland?
Christmas, thank you.
Oh,
White Christmas play. She was in it, and I will actually tell you, these kids are so good that we actually had like national celebrities coming to see Mount Olive celebrities, as the Dolan twins were present for to come see their fellow thespian and celebrity, Maddie, Miss Howski. So that's actually how good it is. We're drawing these people in that are celebrities. I still think we need a dinner and a show thing where some of them go to Enzo's and then go to like the show afterwards. You know, get the whole experience, because it really does rival a Broadway show. And I think it was Alexandra and Jack, the tap dancing, as a previous tap dancer in a former life. I appreciated their talent.
I have so many questions.
He was a good tap.
That was phenomenal. But needless to say, that was great. Congratulations to all of our athletes. Congratulations to all of our studious students that keep getting, you know, straight A's. Congratulations to the Lego League. It's a great program. I've actually seen Tinks, Mrs. Capone, and I don't know if Mrs. Amia's always been the coach. She might be just jumping on the coattails there. You know, make sure. But needless to say, it's a phenomenal program, and it's progressing, gets bigger and bigger, and it's awesome. So that's all I got.
All right. Dr. Giordano.
No comments, Mr. President.
Okay, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Well, I'm going to talk about the Lego League too, because I got to spend the day there and I loved it so much, and I loved hanging out with you ladies. But the amount of time that goes into that, even before you get to that point, you got, what is that, twice a week in the mornings you guys are meeting, Tuesdays and Thursdays from the beginning of September until just a weekend ago, plus Friday practices, plus some weekend practices, plus some evening practice. It's a lot of time and a lot of effort. So thank you very much. And then Mount Olive looked phenomenal here. So the way that it works, which is really interesting to me, is that it's not like sports where you are grouped by ages. All of these teams are competing together regardless of age. So a high school team is competing against an elementary school team. So there were 30 teams total, varying ages, and 2 of our teams came in 7th and 8th. 2 of our elementary school teams came in 7th and 8th, beating out high school teams. It's really phenomenal. I don't know actually why it's grouped that way. It's strange to me.
It's an age group, 9 through 14.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
we you know, our first year students who haven't done it before are competing against kids who have been doing it for, you know, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, so that was really, it was a really great showing for Mount Olive, and just really appreciative of all of the time that it goes into that, because it is a ton of prep even to get there, and then the day of, that is a long day for everybody involved. So thank you guys so much, and really enjoyable to be a part of it.
Great. Mrs. Melendez.
Yeah, I would like to congratulate all the students in the different activities. The White Christmas, it was fantastic. I really enjoy it. Lego League, I missed it this year, but I'm not going to miss it next. But I know it's a lot of energy. I'm a fanatic of robotics and Lego League. My niece was there, Mackenzie, so it's, yes, so kudos good to the kids. And it's like you said, they compete against 9th graders that has been doing that forever. You know, so many years experience versus freshly new ones. So also the Air Force ROTC winning the drill competition. And also I want to congratulate and to also commend those girls that has signed in on the wrestling team. Because it's interesting. Years ago, we barely had one girl in the team, and now that's flourishing. So it's very interesting seeing that here at Mount Olive. Thank you so much to Mr. Carifi and to Ms. Bello also. Fantastic job. And let's see what this new weekend, the next weekend, bring. The Snowland, I think it is, right? So. Good memories are forged of those activities always.
All right. Mrs. Narcisse.
I just like copy all of them. Always congratulations to all of our amazing athletes. Our drama music program, always phenomenal with the White Christmas program. Really excited for the sportsmanship seminar that's going to happen here. While we're on sports, I know we mentioned just now the girls wrestling. I happen to have a conversation with one of our female wrestlers, and the girls are really, really excited this season. For those of them who know, they are now recognized in the state as their own varsity program. I believe we had about 15 females coming out for the program, and the fact that we just approved a female co-assistant coach who actually is a Pan American female wrestling champion out of Morris County, Sussex County area. and also coaches locally with most of the girls, is something really, really exciting for them, and they expressed how much it means to them to have not just a female coach, but someone that has been in their position who can be someone that they can look up to now. The program is growing. I do know now down at the middle school, we just recruited a couple more female wrestlers. So I thank everybody for supporting those programs and initiatives. And I look forward to all of our concerts coming up in December. It's one of my highlights. I love all of the happy holiday music. So, and Candyland is actually also at the middle school on Friday. And then we have Snowland. I can't wait to see all the dresses and outfits and hear all the stories of how, exciting that is for all of the students. So I'm gonna pass it off.
All right, Mrs. Strelacci.
Two things, please. First of all, Mount Olive has become so important. We literally have Santa Claus in our midst tonight.
I'm excited about it.
He's busy as hell, and he came to our meeting. Thank you, Santa.
He's here with his
And
plans for me.
on a serious note, Dr. Banja has already brought it up. Our referendum committee, again, we're having a public forum tomorrow night at the PAC. It's so important to pass this. I mean, we've just been telling everybody on and off and how important that this thing is to get this passed. But in particular, I would like to thank Dr. Banja because she has worked tirelessly at this, putting on one meeting after another, facilitating everything. She's been to people's homes. She's been to a pizza parlor. She's been to retirement homes. She's been all over the place. Her husband called me, asked me if I could let her go home one night. But she has worked very hard, and I thank you so much because this is so important, my friends. If we do not pass this time around, and this is going to be the most inexpensive time to pass it, every year that goes by, this is going to come back. It's inevitable because there are two things that we can't control. We can't control time, and we can't control population. And our schools and our facilities and everything age, and the population keeps bringing more enrollment, and we can't do anything about that. It's going to keep coming back and back and back. And each year that goes by, the cost is going to go up and up and up. So we're really trying to get this thing passed, but if you can, come to our forum tomorrow night. We'll have all our experts there to talk about bonds, our money management people, everything. We'll answer all your questions, but it's so important to get this thing passed. And thank you, Dr. Bain.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Aquino.
I just have one final thing, second to final thing, that I made a huge boo-boo at our last board meeting and neglected to wish our board president a happy birthday.
Geez.
So happy belated birthday.
Geez.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Well,
I was gonna tap dance halfway through the song, just so you know.
You were gonna tap?
What do you wanna sing? I was gonna do halfway through the song, I was gonna
All right,
break
Mr.
out.
Bojangles. Is that it?
That's it.
And thank you for the brownies.
You're welcome.
So finally, I think that everyone has kind of said, what needed to be said regarding congratulations. It's just amazing to hear the wonderful things that are going on around the district, at tents, the concerts that are coming up, and I look forward to, like Mrs. Narcisse said, all of the Christmas cheer that our school community and our town so desperately needs. Thank you, Mrs. Strelacci, for bringing up the referendum because I agree with you. It's very much needed now. And one of the things that superintendent or a board has to do is be forward thinkers and not just think about now, but think about what happens when we are no longer on the board. Did we put the district in a good place to be successful? This referendum will help us do that now and for years to come in the future. So please, I urge you also to come to one of the many opportunities to get good information, not what you see on social media, but come to the actual source to get good information. Thank you, Mr. Karifi and Mrs. Bello, for your information. I hope that for the members here and those watching at home, see how vigilant the district is regarding all of our tax dollars, even when it comes to students who are attending schools who shouldn't be attending schools, and the savings that we're working to accrue for our school community. And finally, along Ms. Desire's point about dinner and theater, if you want to hear our kids sing and kind of like perform, Stella G's on Sunday, and I believe it's after 12?
12 to 2.
12 to 2, you can have a nice breakfast or a brunch and listen to many of our kids sing and serenade you while you enjoy coffee, lunch, brunch, and just have a good time and relax. And that's it for me. Dr. Banji, any parting comments? Okay, so now I need to entertain a motion for closed session for the purposes of attorney-client privilege, personnel, and confidential student matter.
Negotiations as well.
HIB and negotiations.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, be it resolved that the Mount Olive Board of Education is now in closed session. Be it also resolved that these sessions are confidential and confidentiality shall remain in existence until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Action may be taken. We are now
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Dr. Giordano.
Here.
Mrs. Melendez.
Here.
Mrs. Narcisse. Mr. Strelacci. Mr. Zire. And Dr.
Hustle.
Gales.
Here.
We have quorum.
We have a quorum, and I would like to entertain a motion to bring the Mount Olive Township Board of Education
Make that
back
motion.
into open public session.
Make that
So
motion.
moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now back in open session. Thank you all for waiting very patiently. I will turn it over to Mr. Zittimer, who has two resolutions he will read for consideration.
And I suggest because of a conflict issue, we vote on them separately. So the first resolution is resolved that the board affirms the finding of unsubstantiated HIB in case number 250941 MOH 091 for 2023 heard during this evening's executive session. And be it further resolved that the parent shall be provided with a written decision along with information on their right of appeal to the Commissioner of Education.
Second.
What, hang on, what's it?
Somebody has to
Can
move
we
it.
have a, Ms. Narcisse, can you move that, please?
I make a motion to move the
What do you say?
action item. Yeah.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the board? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Narcisse.
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci.
Yes.
Mr. Zire.
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino.
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton.
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Dr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez.
Yes.
Dr. Gales.
Yes.
Okay, the next resolution resolved that the board approves the November 27th, 2023 sidebar agreement with the Education Association of Mount Olive regarding health benefit contributions.
And Dr. Giordano, would you kindly move that motion, please?
Move that motion that Mr. Zimmerman just read.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Giordano.
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez.
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse.
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci.
Abstain.
Mr. Zire.
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino.
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton. Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Dr. Gales.
Yes. And now we.
Can I change my vote to abstain?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I figured
And we have come to that glorious time of the night for a motion to dismiss.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks. We